Good morning, and thank you for flying Air International Flight number 103.1 FM, where you're sure to fly first class every time you fly. You can also check us out at wuag.net. And today I have with me Dominique Nixon. We had the privilege to be a part of a Minerva's midday meeting. It was hosted by the Office of Intercultural Engagement and Kaleidoscopes. And we were talking about that flyer that came out from the UNCG College Republicans, Tuesday, January the 19th. There's two definitions that I'd like to give out right now. One is cultural appropriation, the adoption or use of elements of one culture by members of a different culture. And then there's another one that sticks out to me, microaggression, the everyday verbal, nonverbal, and environmental slights, snubs, or insults, whether intentional or unintentional, which communicate hostile, derogatory, or negative messages to target persons based solely upon their marginalized group membership. Dominique, while sitting here today listening to this conversation on diversity, what are some of the things that came up for you? And then I'd like to hear your views on that flyer. I know earlier you mentioned the execution of the flyer, intent versus impact. That's a lot right there. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then let's jump right on into the discussion about the flyer.
I'm a junior here at the university. I'm from Charlotte. I'm African American. I am gender fluid. Personally, I feel that this discussion was needed because a lot of times in America, we want to hide racial differences. We want to hide the fact that there are still prejudices. We want to hide the fact that people are still using derogatory and slandering words without really thinking about what they're saying and how it's going to impact those around us. So I feel like this discussion was really, really needed, and it was very beneficial to myself because I got to express how I felt seeing the article and hear a lot of different opinions from people who felt differently than I did.
You mean seeing the flyer?
Yes. I saw the flyer yesterday on social media, and when I first saw it, my first thought was, wow. My second thought was, really? And my third thought was, why? All in a matter of seconds. But I could say I really wasn't offended by what was said on the flyer because I realized that the context and the time in which they were quoting from, that was the norm. It was the norm to use racially derogatory words against African Americans.
And so what Dominique is referring to is that the Young Republicans on UNCG's campus, they did not use the words. They used quotes using the word nigga and uppity Negroes and derogatory words like that. So
I feel like the execution could have been a little better. I feel that they could have put a purpose, like they could have stated their purpose for using these words and these quotes, instead of just putting the quotes up and just putting out with the phrase "you deserve better" on it. I feel like they should have done that a little better. That way it would not have been it wouldn't have been as jarring as it was when people saw it.
And so what Dominic is referring to is implying that we deserve better. Implying that we don't know what is best for us. That was somewhat jarring to you, correct?
Yes and no. Yes, because I feel like you're trying to imply that I'm not intelligent enough to do research for myself to know the facts and the history of the Democratic Party, and no, because I understand your purpose was to try to recruit and to say that we can offer you more than what they're giving you. But at the same time, how do you know that I don't already know?
Meaning more, the Republicans could offer more than the Democrats.
Correct. But exactly, like for me personally, I've already done my research. I already knew that the Democratic Party started out very racist and very discriminatory. So for me, it was not shocking to see that prominent Democrats made these statements. It was more so the fact that I go to a school that's very diverse, and they advertise that diversity. So for me, it was a little shocking to see that a lot of the inherent racism in America reached my campus, and it was so blatant that to the point where when it first came out, I didn't even see it, and I literally have several classes in the building in which the flyer was posted.
So we as students, we are bombarded with so many emails and so much stuff to read, and we try to we go onto Canvas and we look at our assignments, and then we look at what's coming up next, and then we also have to look at our emails. And when you're looking at something fast, in the first paragraph, if you see niggas and you see uppity Negroes, you're incited, and then you might close it up and not finish reading it because you've got to hurry on to class, just like Dominique is on his way to class right now. Right. So I think that the flyer could have been a little more tastefully done, that those words did not need to be blatantly just put on a flyer. And like the definition says, microaggression, the everyday verbal, nonverbal, and environmental slights, snubs, or insults, whether intentional or unintentional, which communicate hostile, derogatory, or negative messages to target persons based solely upon their marginalized group membership. Considering that UNCG, and I love UNCG, I feel very welcomed here and very nurtured here. And to see something like that on a flyer, it surprised me, because I too was in a hurry and I saw it on my iPhone, so I didn't get a chance to read all of it. And I know there's a lot of people who are out there doing the same thing. I just ask that you be mindful, that people be mindful of microaggressions and cultural appropriation. So what do you think happened versus intent versus impact?
I feel like their intent was not to cause any harm. They didn't really think about the impact in which this would have, because obviously a lot of people were offended, a lot of people were hurt. You attacked two different racial groups. You attacked not only African Americans, but you attacked Asians, more specifically Japanese Americans. So they had good intentions, but their impact was negative.
Yeah, and then I've talked to others who say that it could have been a double entendre. So we don't know exactly where the come from was coming from. We just ask that people in general be more compassionate when speaking to and about people, to put yourself in other people's shoes when you're speaking to or about people, considering that UNCG fosters a universal approach to leadership. I think it's very important that you put yourself in the other person's shoes.
I would have to agree. I think especially at this school where you see every day is different cultures, every day is different personalities. I say my school is a do you boo type of school, meaning that whatever makes you comfortable, that's what's encouraged. That's what we encourage you to do here at UNCG, and I feel like that's really important. It also has limitations. You also have to be mindful that we live in a very culturally diverse world, not just at UNCG, but in America. We live in a global economy, not just a USA economy. So we have to be very mindful of that. You have to be very cognizant of what you're saying and the impact that it's going to have on those around you and for your group. Because now your group is looked at as like being very discriminatory, but that might not have been your intentions. You wanted to include everybody else, but that's not the impact, and that's not how your group is being seen.
Hear, hear, preach. There were so many things that we talked about in this meeting. One question that was asked was, are you afraid? And I wish she was still here so I could get her on. But she said no, she's not afraid, and she wasn't offended. And that was just her comment. But I would like her to have gone more in depth about that. Well, Dominique, I thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope to have another conversation with you soon.
Faith without work is dead. So you can talk and you can talk all you want, but what are you doing to bring about that change?
True. Well, Dominique, the last thing that I have to say to you on your exit to class is, do you, boo?
Thank you. Have a nice day.